Welcome to Identity Unboxed, where we provide mentorship and promote representation for Black professionals in the advancement of the Black community.
We are seeking guidance from exceptional Black leaders, scholars, and professionals with expertise in their respective fields.
We hope to foster a space that promotes authenticity, inclusivity, and restoration for our listeners while exploring the intersection of our personal and professional lives.
This project is a culmination of our lived experiences as young Black professionals to transform our life trajectories to overcome adversity and reach triumph.
Our intention is to inspire you on your path to discovering your purpose.
We're still people, man. We still need care. We still need rest. You know what I mean? Yeah, we're resilient and we can deal with a lot, but the fact we have to is still an injustice. I just want us to stay connected to that. You know what I mean? Because these systems don't. You know what I mean? They still teach medical students and stuff like our pain tolerance is somehow higher. Man, this is from slavery. Like, I just want y'all to really understand that. Like some folks really believe that. They take our resilience and they flip it around on us. Like, well, they're dealing with that, and I couldn't deal with that, but they can deal with it. They're stronger. They're bigger. They're tougher. And no, don't do that. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, and this is for us, is to stay connected to our own humanity. You know what I mean? That don't mean you gotta not put your cape on. You can put it back on, and you're gonna be amazing. You're gonna be a great superhero and doing what you do in the world. But understand when at night, that you got to take that cape off and that you're really a person who really needs the same thing any other person needs. And that's care and compassion, space, and rest.
Wow. Everything you just said just resonated so much with me. I don't even know where to begin. But just overall, you pointed to how we need to improve the structural framework of these systems, because these systems have been created to exploit us, to make us feel as if we do not have anything to offer the world, that we do not have any talents. And a system that relies on indentured servitude is not going to liberate us. When we have the 13th Amendment that's stating that people that are incarcerated now are forced to work to prop up capitalism, why would you see that system as a way out? So just being able to reframe your perspective about healing and centering rehabilitation in that reform, to me, was just like beyond amazing.
Tiana, real quick,
Mm-hmm.
because you said a buzzword. You said rehabilitation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think rehabilitation is a magic trick, right? It's a magic trick. So because when you say that, just think about what that means.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what does that mean? That means something's wrong with somebody and they need to be rehabilitated. What does that mean? Where were they ever rehabilitated to begin with, right? What does that actually mean? I want us to really think about that, because the fact of the matter is, it's about resources, right? The fact of the matter is, it's like when folks get their needs met and folks are able, like I'll give you a metric where if a person just has safe housing, the recidivism rate drops enormously. Just safe housing. So I just want folks to think about when they say rehabilitation, and that's how the system, they talk about rehabilitation, but they do so to say like there's something wrong with folks, and they don't acknowledge that they criminalize Blackness and they criminalize poverty, right? And so I want to make space for that. When folks come back, and I'll say this, when folks get released, they do what they do when they get released, and then they come back. That adds to the recidivism rate. But the thing is this, why they come back. Usually they come back for status crimes, status offenses. So what I'm saying is like for violating parole or something like that. So it's because of the constraints that you put on somebody, and they didn't get along with the CCO or whatever. So they come back for that, or they come back if they catch a new case. What happens is they have to do with not being resourced. So they might have to do alternative strategies to get their needs met. It has nothing to do like that they tried to get a job. They put in all of the job, this stuff that they tried to do what they were supposed to do when they first got released. And then what ends up happening is They can't find safe housing. They can't find employment that pays at least that is going to help for them to pay their bills and their child support and everything else that they got to do, and their LFOs and all this other stuff, right? And it creates this pressure where they feel like they got to make other decisions. And so I just want to just highlight that that when you interject care and resources into somebody's life, it's amazing how they get rehabilitated. That's what I'm saying.
Wow.
It's just amazing how it magically happens.
Thank you so much for elaborating on that. No, that's
Absolutely.
great. Just to be able to explain that when it comes to providing people, again, what they need to be able to thrive and flourish in their lives. And when people do have those resources, starting from when they're young, and I think it begins, school to prison pipeline, where you see these kids don't have any support beginning, from such a young age, and they don't feel that they have what they need to be successful. So why would they be successful? How can they overcome this? And you talked about having to survive and be resilient. And that's what we're taught is work twice as hard and keep showing up. And you need to show that you are the best of the best, because no one's going to see you as worthy as just as you are. But like you said, nothing was wrong with you. The system had told you that something was. So I really appreciate that point that you made about let's really look at these services that we are providing to people inequitably and figure out how we can begin to allocate those to support those that are most in need and disenfranchised. So thank you so much. And I was hoping to kind of go into your work more at the Black Rose Collective and some of the main goals that you have, or initiatives that you would like to see to continue to advance your work there.
Absolutely. And I want to piggyback off something you said, and it also is going into the question that you asked is, I think the way that, my firm belief is that everybody is amazing and brilliant. I think when you were born, you were perfect. I really believe that. And I believe that what happens is this bundle of perfection gets impacted by a society that was constructed that's traumatic and impactful. And so it socializes us a certain way. You know what I mean? Sometimes we got to heal from how we've been socialized. And other parts we got to heal for what's harmed us, right? From the trauma that we might have been subjected to. So we were perfect, and we get subjected to these things and entering this traumatic and impactful society. So our goal isn't to give somebody something that they haven't had. Our goal isn't to make them something that they weren't before. You know what I mean? It's the opposite. How do we get back to you? You know what I mean? This is how you would have always been if you could have showed up authentically. If you wouldn't have to juggle in poverty and oppression and racism and sexism, if you didn't have to deal with these things, you would have showed up differently. This is how you would have showed up. You know what I mean? You could have just been brilliant, but we're not in a society that allows for us to do that. And so my perspective is, how do we get a person back to that? Like, that's why we want you to heal, because if we support somebody's healing journey, they're gonna be brilliant. If they're well resourced, they're gonna be amazing. You know what I mean? Because they already are. Not because they came in contact with some special mentor or special program or process or organization. You're already amazing. And so when we talk about the work that we aspire to do, that's the work that we aspire to do. You know what I mean? We do a lot of work with folks transitioning back to our community, impacted by gun violence, all these tragedies that happen to our community. But there's this through line. This through line is wanting folks to see the humanity of our community and of themselves. You know, staying connected to our humanity is what's important to us. And because we think in that. And so I hope everybody does that. That's my hope. All these organizations, all these systems, I hope they all do that. We do trainings and stuff for systems and for other folks in the community and organizations. We do those as well. But my hope is that everybody does that. Because if you're front facing with our community, right, and if you're able to make space for their humanity, I think that whatever that interaction is, you're going to be able to better support them, and they're going to be able to better help you support them. And so our goal is that work too. We look at it like we do like first responder work, and that's helping support folks been impacted by gun violence, and that's also helping to support folks transitioning back to the community. These are needs that folks like drastically need now. That's like first responder work, but you can't solve the problem as a first responder. You know what I mean? Like, so we also deal with the root causes. And so our goal is to ultimately dismantle systems of oppression. How do we reimagine a world that isn't constructed in this way that's you spend our whole lives trying to heal? We spend our whole lives trying to unlearn how we've been socialized with all these harmful beliefs and things that they didn't handed us through capitalism and these other strategies, right? What I'm saying is, that's what our mission is. Our mission is to deal with the root causes, so we no longer live in a world where a Black Rose Collective is even needed, right? We're trying to work ourselves out of a job. That's what we're trying to do. You know what I mean? I have dreams and stuff that I want to do, right? You know what I mean? Like we all do, right? And I can't get to what I really want to do because there's like there is this emergent crisis that's happening in our community, and so I'm trying to feel like, you know, this is the work that needs to happen. But if we were all well resourced and we were in a position where, like, you know what, we could do whatever we need to do to fulfill our lives, and you know what, I probably would make a different decision because this stuff is hard, right? It's hard being this proximate to all the harm that happens to our community. When you see them throwing away kids in court, or you see folks dying from gun violence, or you have to go to another funeral, or like this stuff is hard. This is difficult, and it's really hard when you care, like you really emotionally invested in wanting to see it stop, and so this probably wouldn't have been my choice if I would have had any choice at all. But it's just like, and that's a common through line with a lot of folks who are engaged in this work. They're here. Folks are here because we care, and this is our community. Like, this isn't we didn't helicopter into somebody else's community to hand out backpacks, you know, or to give you dinners and turkeys on your holidays. These are your holidays. We don't celebrate these holidays. You show up our community on your holidays to help us celebrate you, right? But the fact of the matter is, no. We from these communities. Like I grew up with his dad, and I understand. You know what I mean? Like that's such and such cousin, and you know what I mean? Like this is our community. Like, these are the folks that we love and that we're emotionally invested with. And so, so I would say that I would say that we're community directed, and so our strategies come from the community. You know, we want to dispel the myth that some smart people got to come up in a room to come up with the solutions for our community. Our community already has some solutions to the problems. You know what I mean? They're just not well resourced. And so we want to be that we want to be able to amplify the solutions that are already there, and be able to utilize those to and whatever resources we can get connected to be able to push those forward. And so I think that's who we are as an organization. We're just a community organization. We're a community organization navigating through the nonprofit industrial complex, you know, and so, you know, that's the work that we're really in. And yeah, so I hope I answered part of your question. I know I kind of went on a little tangent there, and I'm sorry, Tiana.
No, but, don't be sorry. You definitely answered it like so well. So yeah.
Okay.
You made me think of another point that I would like you to touch on, if you possibly could, just from working in the nonprofit industrial complex and having conversations with folks of my generation. A lot of people, you know, as we see things being rolled back and these issues getting worse and worse, you know, a lot of people are starting to lose faith in the non-profit industrial complex. And some folks feel like, you know, it's almost there to kind of prop up capitalism so that people can get their tax write-offs, they can have their corporate, logos at the luncheons and look good and save face, when really there are not enough resources being allocated to these issues. And, some things that I've heard through talking to others is that it almost keeps people who are passionate about these issues trapped in these low-paying jobs with, not a lot of resources, where they're burnt out, overworked, stressed, and under the illusion that, by working at a nonprofit, you're actually going to fix the system, when it's funded by those who are maintaining and upholding the system. So if you have any commentary on folks that are working in the system that are kind of losing faith, like, are nonprofits the way to create change?
Yeah, did it again, man. Great question. No, that was really good though, because it's real. I appreciate your real description of the nonprofit industrial complex space in this. It does hold the system in place. It does grow from the branch of capitalism to hold it in place. It does a way of making folks who have hoarded all the resources feel better about hoarding all the resources, is sharing a little bit and handing out backpacks and stuff like that, stuff that don't really deal with the actual issues. Another issue is I remember we were speaking to some elders, and they were telling us, and this was crazy, is we come to these understandings, right? And elders have been doing this for forever, right? They and we got to do a better job at really connecting to their brilliance and to the lessons that they've learned, and because they talk a lot about how sorry about that. They talk a lot about how let me see. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Happens to me all the time.
Right.
No worries. We can
Literally.
edit this, so you're good.
Okay. So it's okay. Right. So how the elders talk a lot about how the systems, the way that they hand out money to fix individual problems, even though the problems are systemic. Right. So when you look at the verbiage is always around how people are the problem. So it's mentoring for youth, right? It's fixing the individual issues and problems. This is what they need, right? But it doesn't deal with the systemic structures that are creating the problem. You know what I mean? So it's like, so there's this magic trick. They get us to focus on the individual, but you can't solve the problem on the individual level. Like, it's not even possible to solve the problem on the individual level. This is a systemic problem. Like, we're talking about, how do we stop poverty? You don't do that by handing out backpacks. You don't do that by handing out turkeys on Thanksgiving. You know what I mean? Like, you don't do that. That's not how you solve the problem. Right. But if you had to have that conversation, then you'd have to actually change something. And I think that you're right in your assessment of, like, the nonprofit industrial complex is a part of the problem. And that's why I like to try to differentiate ourselves of being a community organization. I'm not under any illusion that nonprofits can solve the problems of our society. Because there's limitations to what nonprofits can do, right? The way that we're going to have to solve our problems is going to have to be collectively. It's going to have to be all of us to solve the problems. Folks in community organizations are going to have their part to play. And I would say funneling all our money through systems is a horrible strategy. I don't think that's a strategy that's worked. Giving the system more dollars to be able to have to distribute everything that goes to the system goes through with the system's strategies and way in which they do the work. So, like, if you need to give out resources about housing and stuff like that, why would you funnel that through the system? with all its bureaucracies and everything else that it has to deal with. Like I would hope that they would go through community organizations to be able to do that. Funnel more money through community organizations. But I think that I think you hit the nail on the head. I think that the nonprofit space was constructed to hold the system in place too. And until we're being honest about these systems and on an individual perspective too, we got to be honest about the ways that we hold the system in place. You know, we have to be honest because we do too, right? There's ways that we show up. You know what I mean? Like, let's just be honest. We have to be honest. And now it's difficult to navigate in this capitalist society and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Without having clean hands, right? The reality is, we bought a house out in Auburn and stuff like that. And so somebody sold us some from stolen land, right? They just stole this and then they resold it to us. And so I think that we have to be honest about the part we're playing in holding this system to place. And in that place of honesty, this is not about shaming folks for what this is not about that. This is not about virtue singling, about like, I don't do this and you don't, no, this ain't about that. We can't, in that space, we're not going to be able to solve the problem. We need to be honest first, like about what we do personally that holds the system in place. And then from that space, be able to make an analysis about what we need to do going forward. Because if we lie and we're not honest about the ways that we participate, then whatever strategies or solutions we come out aren't going to be effective. They're not going to be efficient. Folks will just be pointing to your hypocrisies and like, well, look what you're doing. You're doing that. What does it matter? Right? At the end of the day, we just have to be honest. So in navigating as a community organization, we gotta be honest about, we know that we're eventually going to have to get privately funded. We're going to have to fund ourselves. That's what's going to have to inevitably happen. You know what I mean? Because for all the reasons that you named, the system is not going to fund you to dismantle them. You know what I mean? They'll do it when it's cute and it looks good. Like, oh, we got relationships with the community. We funded this. We did this. But look what they're funding, though. They're not going to fund actually strategies to solve the problem. They're going to fund you to maybe, maybe to hand out backpacks. You know what I'm saying? Maybe to do this and maybe to offer this and to do that and maybe to do a little bit of rental assistance and stuff like that. Maybe for that. That's needed. It is. It absolutely is. But at the end of the day, it's not going to be connected to actual solutions to the systemic problems. Because how can you do that if I'm part of the problem too? I don't want to be honest about the parts that I'm playing, that's contributing. And so what I want to do is just, and so I think that that's important. So we got to do from an honest place. The nonprofit industrial complex is the problem too. It's a bad problem. It's caused a lot of harm to our communities. You know what I mean? And to your point about, losing trust in nonprofits, they don't deserve your trust. They don't deserve it. Like nonprofits do not deserve your trust. This work is like, these are systems. These are organizations that profess to do what they're supposed to do. And half the time they do them. And the other half, you know what I mean? It is what it is. But what I'm saying is, we need to trust people. And that's why it's important for community organizations to have deep roots in the community they serve. Because it's not about trusting a nonprofit. It's about trusting Brad, because Brad's there. And Tiana, because Tiana's there. I know them. And they're going to be honest to me about what's needed and about what they can do and stuff like that. You see how when we go back to relationships, it solves the problem, right? There's no ask to wholesale trust any of these systems or any of these organizations. You shouldn't. You know what I mean? Well, the way that we do, we give support, like with resource navigation, is we cultivate actual relationships with the resources. Because every housing resource and every resource isn't for everybody. Like I wouldn't send this person over there because I know this person. I'm in a relationship now. We understand what your needs are. That's not going to work over there. Because I know the personalities over there and I know the rules and their policies and stuff. That's not a fit. not where you are in your journey right now. That's not going to work. Right. But that only happens because I'm in a relationship with them and them. That only happens because I understand it's not a piece of paper where they do housing and that's the problem with nonprofits. You know what I mean? Because they don't have that relationship component. And so they really don't know. And so that is, I think, the way that we aspire to show up for the work. We know that relationship is probably the most powerful tool or value when it comes to this work, because we understand we have an aspiration to support the most marginalized in our community, and that only happens through relationship. When you talk about the most marginalized, folks are not leaning into nonprofits, not leaning into organizations. They got a lot of horror stories and they refuse at this stage, even though they might really benefit. Just emotionally, they can't. And so we want to fill that gap. Like, how do you pull somebody back in? Be like, I understand what your experience was with them and with them and with them, right? But what does it look like for us to engage and figure out how to do this for you, right? And so I think that this is what I appreciate about how you frame and built up the question, is because it showcased the problem. You know what I mean? Like, we're trying to solve a problem, but the foundation that it's built on is flawed. So we can build a new structure and it'll look nice, it'll look beautiful, it'll be great, but it's still got these cracks in the foundation that are going to make it not sustainable. So I think for us to be mindful and honest about that, and so that's what I appreciate about how you asked that question, and it's real. Kiana, you wanted to say something? Sorry.
Oh no, you're all right. That was amazing. I would just say very perceptive observation of how our systems are not conducive to real liberation of the most marginalized in our society. And it's a collective movement that we have to work towards together. And also that we need to have that accountability to understand how we also perpetuate these systems and inequity that you said, by even simply believing that these nonprofit organizations, for example, could be an answer, would be a way that you are propping up white supremacy and allowing oppression to continue to exclude those that are marginalized. So I wanted to thank you for really bringing that amazing analogy too about how the foundation is inherently flawed, and that there's cracks there, and that no matter how much you decorate it or renovate the house on the outside, there's still those problems that are festering underneath. And if we never touch on those, they're always going to be there. And other people may not see them because they're not glaring issues. But once you begin to center people, that's when you start to understand where the real harm has been caused. So I just thank you for that. And I was hoping, as we're getting near the end, I know we've gone way over time, so we're just so appreciative of you being able to be here and, share your experience. But could you share, as you're reflecting back on just your entire journey, particularly now, as you've moved forward and been so successful in your life, when you were incarcerated, if you could see yourself now, what would you say about that? Just to see like all that you've done and this positive impact that you've made on the community. I would just love to hear, like, would you have seen yourself here in this position, like really, moving forward so many enhancements to really support people? So if you could really share that, it'd be great.
So could you reflect the question one more time for me, just so I can have clarity about if I can. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no worries. If you could see yourself now from the perspective of you when you were incarcerated, during that time, would you have been able to conceptualize that you would be here, in this moment, doing so much amazing work and impacting the community positively? So if you could, like, in retrospect, look at yourself now, like in the future, from that mindset of when you were incarcerated, I think it would be really powerful.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate the question too. I think it was important for me when I got released. There was a friend of mine who got out 4 years before me, and he got out and he did amazing. Like, he parlayed his work release job and worked his way all the way up, like all the way up. And I was like, wow, like he was in work release. He was just in work release. He got a job at work release and turned that job where he was running the restaurant after a year, and then he was like, he was running all of them, right? And I was just like, this was amazing for me, right? I appreciated having this proximity to his story. And I remember what he was telling me when he was telling me about that. I remember he got a big promotion and he was signing the offer sheet, and I called and I was happy for him. And he was telling me, he was telling me that he was like, don't be too fixated on he said, be open to where life is going to take you. Like you don't, like you could have your plans and you could have your aspirations, but don't be too fixated on them to a point where you restrict your for life to unfold in the way that it's going to unfold. And because he was like, I would have never ever game planned or even thought I would be in the restaurant business, right? He said I would have never even conceived of that, right? Like, and so I said that to say this, right? And I appreciated what his feedback that he was able to give me. He gave me a lot of jewels when I was on the way out. Is I think the best thing that I had going for me is that I didn't know, right? Like, because I was prepared. I put together a playbook. I called it a playbook, right? I love, football stuff. So I put together a playbook, right? And what I did was, so everything that I did, I is in the playbook though, right? It is, but it was a lot of different plays, right? I mean, like all type of different things. I used to be able to, I researched all the different things that I had passion about wanting to do or what I could do and stuff like that. This was just one of them, right? But so I was just trying to prepare because that's where I was, I was in a perpetual preparation state, right? But I was like, but I was open to whatever was whatever was going to happen when I got released. And it's kind of back to the quote I was talking about. Success is a process, not a destination, right? When you get so fixated on the process at the moment, like being the best version of yourself in this moment, maximize what you can do. Like, don't let what you can't do stop you from doing what you can do, right? Like focus on your moment and maximizing this moment, being present in this moment. Don't live in some future destination where you know what I mean, you haven't gotten to yet, and don't stay fixated in the past that you're no longer there, right? Like, how do we stay focused on this moment? And so I think hearing his story and folks' story give me hope that it's possible. And that's what we need. We need hope, because without hope, we won't dream at all, right? But with that being said, staying focused, I think I want to reiterate for folks to stay focused on the moment and maximize what's happening now, being present now. I think that's what I really appreciate, both of y'all, right? Is how present you are and intentional you are in your ability to listen and to present the best question in the moment. I know half of that stuff wasn't written down, right? It came from reflecting. It wasn't, right? Because I read the question, right? And so it came from you really being in the moment. And I think that was my appreciation, that you were able to, the questions, you were really great questions that if in retrospect, I would have wished you would have asked, right? So it's just like, I really appreciated that, but I think that only happens because you were present and we were here. And so, to answer your question, no, I couldn't have foreseen it or dreamt it. I knew that whatever was going to happen was going to happen. I did do some preliminary preparation as far as for if I did nonprofit work, if I did this, if I did that. But I think that, if I'm being honest, I would say this, though. In retrospect, what I wish I could have connected with me about, though, is the lessons I learned about your healing journey, though. I wish I could have, like, listen, you're going to be good. You're going to be straight. I see your playbook. It's a nice playbook. It's going to carry you too. You know what I mean? You're right about a lot of this stuff. You're absolutely right. Like, the foundations are going to be firm with you, right? But what aren't firm is you're going to have to take care of yourself. You know what I mean? Like don't let the alluring and addictive drug of capitalism disconnect you from your humanity. You know what I mean? Like, you going out here and working, like, and forgetting what's important. You know what I mean? And so I wish I could stay connected. Like, listen, take care of yourself. Like, a lot of rough stuff's gonna happen, but just like with your other plans, if you have a firm foundation, right, when it comes to your healing journey, if it's just as firm on your healing journey as it is everywhere else, then you're gonna be fine. But make sure that you keep checking for cracks, and you keep check to make everything's good, and keep checking on yourself. And I wish I could have told myself that then, about keep checking on yourself and reevaluating and assessing what you need in every given moment. Because it might be different than what you're accustomed to. And what's important is that you take care of yourself, because is you sacrificing yourself a part of your trauma? This belief that, you know what I mean, I've harmed community, or I've caused harm, and so I justify sacrificing my body and what I got to deal with emotionally with. I mean, you owe that, though. You owe that. And so I'd want to talk to me then about my humanity, and about like, listen, the stuff that you're going to do is highlighted in the society you're stepping into. How hard you're going to work and all that other stuff. All these are things that this society are going to hold up as good qualities. Don't get that confused with that they're always going to be good for you. And so I wish I could have had that real conversation with myself, because at the end of the day, it's not about stuff. I mean, I appreciate being able to add value to our community. We got, advocate, get some folks home, change some of these policies. All that stuff has been great. And I appreciate being in a position to be able to help support folks when we're able to. But I don't want the takeaway to be that the way in which I worked is normal. And I hope that that's what I can model going forward, is that we got to be able to take care of ourselves. And that's the work that we're doing with the Black Rose Collective, is learning from what we've been through and the lessons that we learned from navigating these spaces, and trying to infuse it here. So this would be a space for us to be able to take care of ourselves as we do this important work in our community. And so I know I kind of delved a little bit, but I hope it was useful.
No, it really was. Thank you so much. Just touching on the point that we need to be present, we need to rest. We can't, always operate in overdrive. And that really resonated with me when you said, is that operating in overdrive and self-sacrifice, is that a part of your trauma? And that's something that this project has really helped me unpack, because I didn't realize how much I was doing things from like a capitalistic perspective, like, oh, I got to grind, I got to do this, I got to do that. And when you start to deconstruct that, you realize that, wow, like, am I actually present in the moment, or am I always reaching for something else? Like, it's sit and reflect and realize the blessings that you have in the present, and know that adversity is going to come. But, if you just, the baby step a day, that's all we can do. Yeah. So that's what I tell myself now. If I can make a baby step every day, eventually I'll get there. And so I think that kind of leads good into our very last. Oh, go ahead.
I just want to say, in closing, I just want to say this. I want to highlight that being in that grateful spirit is the most important thing that you can do every day. You know what I mean? Like if you got to go through the laundry list of things that you have to be grateful of, that's why I say count your blessings, not your problems, right? That's my new movement, right? That's what we doing. I'm gonna count my blessings and not my problems. And the thing is, like, from when you're in when you're in a grateful space, um, I really believe that that allows for you to show up in a way that makes everything else possible. When you're not in a grateful space, I think you're sabotaging you're sabotaging your blessings. You know, some folks won't lean into you if your energy is that you come from an entitled space, right? Some folks won't. Some folks who could have supported won't support, or some folks will support but not support in the way that they would support. But when you're in a grateful space, you give yourself the opportunity for the universe and the world and your community and everybody else who sees your grind and sees your ascent, man, to want to help support that. And so, and I think there's something energetically that happens, and if we really want to get deep into it, but I think what that does for you psychologically, though, in that grateful spirit, like when you remain grateful, you're gonna wake up in a year, man, and realize that was a really good year. But when you wake up every day stressed out, fixated on what's wrong, on the problems, after a year, if even the wins feel empty. And so I just wanted to say that piece. Sorry about that. I know you had a last name. Sorry.
Don't be sorry. That's great. Just having gratitude. That is the most important thing. And I completely resonate with that.
Yeah,
sorry, Brad. I know you. I stepped on you. Sorry, bro.
Oh no, that was a much needed gem right there. So we'll say that. But I think that leads really good into our next question, our last question that we ask everybody. What does Blackness mean to you? Looking at our collective experience, but also zooming in on your individual experience as a Black person.
Right. What does it mean to me? I think we navigate through a society that tells us what it means, right? And that ain't what it means. The stereotypes, the trauma responses that it attributes to our community. But I think that you know what? I think it like this. I think when you get too much sun, I think you'll burn. I think melanin is that's like God's suntan lotion, right? Right. And so you think about it through that perspective, right? There's this added this God-given protection, right? This inherent brilliance, and that this substance that that comes with so much culture and so much power, right? And man, I love I love our relational nature. I love that. I think I love that this connectiveness that we have I'm fueled by when you realize how much we have invented, how much has really benefited. Folks try to make us believe that our contributions to this country came from the free labor that came from our ancestors and stuff like that, and not really realizing all the other bricks and stuff that we'd have built that really came from our culture and our brilliance, our collective brilliance. And I think Black is beautiful and Black is brilliant. That's what I believe. And I appreciate the innovation, ingenuity, and the creativity that comes with having to navigate in our skin. I appreciate. That's what I appreciate, right? And so I think, even though I think color, I think race is a construct, right? A social construct that was created to separate some folks from resources. I think the way we stepped into our Blackness and being able to use that same level of ingenuity and creativity to heal and to thrive is what it means to be Black. And so I think that's what it means to be Black for me. That's what Black means for me. You know what I mean? It's like I said, it's complicated because it is a construct that was constructed for a purpose. But I think, yeah, Black is our culture. Black is, and it's beautiful. So I think that's what I would say.
That was beautiful. Wow. I don't have much to add to that because I think you put it so well. It's who we are. It's powerful. We should have pride in that, and we haven't been taught about the significance of our contributions, as you mentioned. So just being able to reflect on that and constantly learn about where we've come from and where we're going and how we've always centered justice and how we, move through the world, that's something that is very, just powerful. So thank you for sharing that. And that was our last question, but we want to give you the space to be able to add anything. If there's something that you wish we would have asked you, or just any last little gems. You've dropped so much in this. Like, this is I say this a lot, but this is one of my favorite episodes, actually. So I would really love to just hear anything else that you'd like to add.
I think that y'all covered it expertly. Y'all did a really good job. I really appreciate y'all. I want to make space for the platform y'all are creating and have created, and the work that y'all are doing, and highlight, like, y'all are really good at this. You know what I mean? Like, y'all really are. And so any way that I can support, or we can collectively support the work that y'all are doing, please let us know. Let me know. I'm a fan, and I really appreciate it. And so, that's what it is. I just want to just uplift that I see you, and I seen your brilliance and your gifts shine through in this moment of time that we had the opportunity to share. And whatever that little voice says that's denigrating, make sure you don't know what you're talking about, or if you don't know what you're talking about, because at the end of the day, man, y'all are brilliant, man. And so I think there's going to become a day where, maybe y'all should do a workshop and break it down. I know that there was a lot of work that went into this, into how y'all show up, and it shows in the product. And so I just want to name that. Like, I could tell in how you held space, and how you in the questions that you asked, and in the intentionality that you flowed through. And what's most important for me is you have this real detailed plan, and then you make space for the space to do what it's going to do. You have flexibility to not do any of it at all. I just want to just acknowledge, I see you, and I know that's real, and I know that's brilliant. So thank y'all for allowing me to share space with you. And any way that I can support, please let us know. We're going to do everything we can to show up for these Black voices.
Wow, thank you so much. That, like people say sometimes, when it looks like you're doing good on the outside, people don't realize that you do need help. And so that definitely, hearing you say that helped my little voice today more than you know. So thank you. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. This has been like transformative for me, just this whole experience, and just hearing you like really reflect on your journey, and really appreciate all of your kind words. And we're definitely going to be in touch with you, continue to build community, and we want to continue to support the Black Rose Collective. So we are going to always stay in touch. And we're just very grateful for today. And I'm very excited for all of the listeners to hear in September when this comes out. So just thank you again. And we hope to connect soon. So I hope you have a great Sunday.
Yes, you too as well.
All right.
God bless you.
God bless you.
Talk soon. God bless. Bye.
All right, bye.
We are so grateful for your support, and thank you for listening to Identity Unboxed.
Authenticity is your guide to cast an impact on the world that you will be proud of. Signing off with pride, Tiana
and Brad.
Thank you so much.